This is Gone Racin, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
Hey, it's great to be back in the studio, Gone Racing. By the way, on that promo, you're former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan. I'm Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley. So great to be here.
Don't confuse us.
You're right. I've been out of the studio for the last 2 weeks. So hi, everybody. Great to be
Welcome back, Mr. Motley. We've had Isaiah behind the window. We've had Wyatt up front. We've had you in a little box. It's back to normal now.
Had you were somewhere, God knows where you probably were on one of those call-ins, Mexico
No,
or
I've
something.
been here the last couple
Were
weeks.
you here the last 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah.
He was here.
Here the last.
Oh yeah,
wow.
no, I've been making sure I'm in studio.
Well, and I appreciate that. Last week I had the big.
Did you have the estate
earmuffs
sale?
on. We did.
How'd it go?
Way better than I expected, but those things are a little emotional, So
You find your third grade, project where you made the chicken out of the chickpeas.
I had
and
no
the leaves.
idea that those things have been saved. In fact, I got to digging through a basement and found that my parents had saved my brother and I's first tricycle and our first bicycle, and they were in the complete back.
It's
corner.
amazing the stuff you find when you go through.
And it's
parents'
also
houses.
amazing that people will come in and want to buy that. And I was fine with me because I was like, okay, if we sell it, then
The old saying, "One man's trash is another man's treasure."
Exactly. I got it. So, but hey, we're here to talk racing. Gone Racing just finished up a great weekend of racing at Dover. Unfortunately for our good friends at Dover, for the fourth time in 5 years and the second year in a row, they raced on Monday because of some rain on Sunday.
But Martin Truex loves it when they race on Monday.
Well, Martin Truex Jr. won at one of his 15 home tracks. It was a great weekend for the Truex family. Martin Truex Jr. got his first win in 2 years.
Great for Ryan Truex.
And Ryan Truex, his brother, wins
Great
on
for
Saturday. Ryan, don't call me Ryan Truex Jr.
Yes. Listen, for those that don't know, Ryan has worked his tail off in this business. He has been up and down, and I know we normally
And has not ridden his brother's coattails.
No.
He has not at
His
all.
brother really, honestly, I feel should have helped him maybe a little more. But this kid has worked his tail off, has done so much, has earned so many stripes, and he almost made it so many times, Jeff, and then Ruggs got pulled out, and he's on that emotional roller coaster. What a hell of a win for the Truex family. And we joke about the home track, okay? We all know that's a joke. It's not just us. That is the entire NASCAR
This
world.
probably is the closest track to New Jersey where
yes,
yes.
This is actually the
Pocono
real.
might be a little closer.
Nah,
but
this one's closest.
But they didn't run the Busch North series that Martin grew up racing in Pocono.
They raced
but he
in
ran a lot
Dover.
of races in Dover.
Awesome for the Truex family. Great for Ryan Truex, not Junior. Way to go, Ryan. Proud of you on that one.
And before we break down the race at Dover real quick, one little bit of news came down this week. Legacy Motor Club, which Jimmy Johnson
little bit of news.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson really kind of has become the principal there, even though we know Maury Gallagher, Richard Petty involved there. You got Eric Jones, Noah Gregson. They're going to switch from Chevrolet to Toyota going into the 2024 season. Adds to the TRD camp, but pretty big news for a guy that won 7 championships with Chevrolet.
Yeah, I mean that's the definition of money talks, and you know what? I mean, I'll tell you what. Could not believe when I heard that news. But look, Maury Gallagher, Jimmy's the front man, right? Jimmy's the guy you put out in front of the world. I'm sure Jimmy has Jimmy's a businessman also. He's got say. Richard, kind of been miffed lately about certain things, but Richard's been all over the board.
Richard was here yesterday on the Kyle Petty motorcycle ride.
But he's been Dodge, Pontiac, Chevrolet. He's been all over the board. Now he's a Toyota. But Maury Gallagher is a very, very savvy businessman, and he saw an opportunity. They have not been running well this year with Chevrolet. Why? We don't know, but they have not been running well, and they saw an opportunity. And to be able to talk Jimmy Johnson into, going away from this now means he has to basically divest from Hendrick, right? I mean, this means he no longer can count on Chad Knaus to come over and try to sprinkle him a little engineering help.
Unless he hires Chad away from Hendrick.
Well, but, right now, that if there's a problem, they could knock on Hendrick's door and go, hey, Mr. H, man, can you give us a hand over here? He's basically now saying, I'm a big boy. Take the training wheels off. So good luck to Legacy, and that's a huge move.
Well, and we've talked about the fact that one of the disadvantages Toyota has is every time you look at the number of cars on the track, they've got the least amount of cars. Yep. So now this gives them an opportunity to be pretty close to where Ford is. They're still not going to have the number of Chevy, but they'll be pretty close, at least to the competitive Fords that are out there. Okay, well, speaking of Toyota, Martin Truex Jr. had not won in 54 races, but he comes home a double-digit winner for us this week. 10-1. He was plus 250 for a top 3. He was a negative against Ross Chastain head-to-head, -125. And it gave Toyota a win. We talked about Toyota, a plus 300 for Toyota. So definitely good if you had Martin Truex Jr. and you were in the Toyota camp this week. Taking a look at the rest of the top 10, our other guys that paid out for top threes, Ross Chastain, a plus 350. Ryan Blaney ran well all day long.
And the reason why he's plus 800, Jeff, we talked about it on the show, he was abysmal at Dover. His stats were awful, and he came home with a plus 800 with a top 3. Best run ever at Dover. Great job, Blaney.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about Blaney is the Penske cars, other than him, were complete junk. I mean, Joey Logano was pitting every 50 laps or 40 laps because of tire issues, and finally, it just finally gave out, and he crashed there with about 7 or 8 laps to go. Cindric was not a factor, so Blaney clearly had everything going on the Penske camp. You look at the rest of the top 10, probably no really big upsets. Great to see that Roush Fenway RFK team there, Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher both getting 8th.
When's the last time we had both of them outside of a super speedway, both in the top 10? That's
well, how about it? Did they did Talladega?
That's out of a super speedway.
Oh, outside of a super speedway. Yeah, that's a good point. And then Josh Berry.
Berry.
No matter what he gets in, the guy runs well.
Rumor mill right now saying he might,
rumor mill.
Hey, he deserves it. He's another guy worked his tail off to get their super. Remember they called Justin Allgaier a couple years ago the super sub. Well, now it's Josh Berry's turn.
We're not spreading any rumors, but is it possible that that 4-car seat would fit him? Well, who knows?
I'm sure he's liking that.
Yeah, because it's not like there's room at the inn over at Hendrick right now. So, and so that brings us a little bit to our standings. We've added another winner now to the standings this year. We only still have 2 guys with the 2 wins out, or 3 guys with the 2 wins, with the 2 Kyles, Busch, Larson, and then Byron. But we're up to 8 different winners. I know, Brendan, you like to think we're going to get to 17.
Look,
I say no.
Look at the season standings right here. You got 8 guys right there. We've had 11 races, 8 winners. All right. Now, I think we have a graphic today with the cutoff line, which we've been talking about. When you go to that cutoff line, look at guys that have won. Ross Chastain won a bunch of races last year.
By the way, one thing about Ross Chastain, he's the points leader.
He's the points leader.
He's the points leader. He
hasn't won a race, but he won a bunch last year. Then you've got Kevin Harvick, perennial winner. You got Blaney hasn't won. You got Denny Hamlin hasn't won. You got Alex Bowman that hasn't won. Then you got our cutoff line. What you don't see, you've still got A.J. Allmendinger with 5 road races before the playoffs, 4. You've still got Chase Elliott without a win. You've got guys, you still got a Daytona race before you get there. Ty Gibbs running better. You got a lot of stuff here. I'm telling you, we could get to 17 again. We could get to that magic number and somebody with a win goes home.
That's one thing I will agree with you. We can, but my point is we won't. That's all I'm saying.
But here's the cutoff line. This is what I've been asking for a couple weeks now on with the guys downstairs with the pit crew. We're getting that. It's time to start paying attention to the cutoff line. Yes, Ross Chastain's the point leader. Really, the point leader thing only matters when we get to that last race, just in case win or no win, all that thing. But look at this cutoff line. I mean, look at the battle you're going to have for 16th spot. Right now, Chase Briscoe at 250. It's a decent lead, but that's one race with a problem, right? That's 2 stages where somebody gets, does better. And then after that, it's 3 points, 4 points, 5 points. It's stacked up. This 16th position this year, the cut line position, it's going to be a dog-eat-dog war.
Well, and honestly, I think you look at a couple of those guys right below the cut line, and I think they are humongous disappointments right now this year. Daniel Suarez, I certainly expected better out of Daniel. I did not expect better out of Austin Cindric. Somebody at the beginning of the season picked him to be the disappointing driver. It is. Although somebody else picked the most disappointing driver this year, and that went out the window this weekend.
Yeah, I believe that I will be the first to admit, since I am kicking everybody's butt in the standings,
you'll take the trade-off.
I did have the worst pick. Right now, this is only 11th race in. I will admit I made the worst pick of the season, which would be my biggest disappointment, was Martin Truex Jr. Martin, eat the hat, whatever you need.
I don't know. I think the Jimmy Johnson at Coda still tops that one.
Picking Jimmy to win.
Well, but go on. It was Group F. It was Jimmy Johnson at Group F.
But he was out and he was loud.
That took 1 lap. This took 11 races.
Yeah. But I mean, still, even that one I don't think is as bad as picking. Martin's won the Clash, and now won Dover, and he's running pretty darn well a lot of places.
Look, I gotta hold it over your head since I'm like 150 units behind you.
And by the way, there is no negative points for that. I want to make sure, commish, no negative points for that. They're going to try, because I'm kicking their butt so bad, they're going to try to that bad pick gives you -5.
Do we have a commissioner? Okay. All right. So
whoever it is.
All right. We'll take a look at this weekend. We're going to head out to the 1.5-mile track just outside of, just across the state line there, Missouri, Kansas, into Kansas City, Kansas. the AdventHealth 400, just taking a look at the schedule coming up. Then we head to Darlington, South Carolina for the Goodyear 400. We have the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, our version of playing in the Iowa cornfield like the baseball teams do. Then the longest race of the year, the Coke 600 in Charlotte. And then we go out to Gateway. You know, the one thing I am noticing, other than the All-Star race, this is one stretch where we don't have a great deal of diversity. We got 4 consecutive points racing on 1.3 mile, 1.2 mile up to 1.5 mile tracks. I'm not saying the tracks are similar, but they're similar in length.
Similar in length, but they're different styles. I mean, you know, Kansas is the mile and a half, what you and I would call the tri-oval, right? What Vegas Motor Speedway is, that then you go to Charlotte, which is that double dog leg, the different style mile and a half. And then you got Darlington, that mile and a half, they're 1.6, whatever it is, that is like nothing else on earth.
Gateway's layout is similar to Darlington, where one turn is wider than the other, but Gateway is flat, where Darlington has the banking. And then we also know Darlington is just, I mean, it is hell on tires. Let's just be.
Hell on tires. That's an understatement. I mean, I think even Satan would be asking for tires if he was racing around there. I mean, that baby. Hey, remember the old days? We used to like push the cars through the garage and bring tires to put on pit road because we didn't want to drag them through the garage.
Yeah, it's like you run 5 laps at Darlington, and it's like, and the caution comes out,
tires.
And everybody comes in. I'm taking
the old day when we had no tire allotment. Yeah.
Well, I don't even. Do they do tire allotments at Darlington now?
They still do.
What do you get? Like 22 sets of tires?
It's a lot of tires.
I'm sure it is a lot of tires. But anyway, this week we're going to start talking about the race at Kansas Speedway. One of 2 trips at Kansas, and guess what? Probably won't have a repeat winner of this race this year.
This is Gone Racin, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
Boom. I think we nailed our cue to get in here.
Professionally professional on that one.
Yes, I know. Right. Who are we? Back here on Gone Racing, here at the beautiful South Point Hotel Casino in our DraftKings VSiN studio here.
We got to give Wyatt a chance. He had an Earl Ross nugget.
Well, I like calling it the Larry McNuggets.
No, on this show it's the Earl Ross nugget.
Okay.
And Wyatt, you had a great Earl Ross nugget for us. What was that nugget?
Yeah, if Tyler Reddick somehow wins this Sunday,
wow,
the 45 car will have won 3 straight races at Kansas with 3 different drivers. You remember Kurt Busch last year, Bubba Wallace replacing him in the fall, and now Tyler Reddick is in the 45 car now. That might be the first time in NASCAR history that would ever happen.
That'd be a good one to look up.
Yeah, that'd be one to look up. We need to call the Greg Fielden, Lynn Thatcher, Ken Martins of the world and see who can
give me the stat on that one.
Who can drop us a stat on that one. Okay, well, let's look at this race at Kansas. We certainly are going to have a different winner in this year's race with Kurt Busch not racing being our defending champion. This track really is similar to the old Las Vegas, the old Chicagoland Speedway, the old Kentucky Speedway. So we don't race on the same configuration
used
in
to be
Vegas.
Called the cookie cutter. Now there's none left.
Right. We don't race at Kentucky or Chicago anymore, so it's a flat 1.5-mile oval. The guys that have done well there, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, all have 3 wins there. Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Busch each have 2 wins. And, you know, Kyle Busch, he used to hate this place. I mean, this place was like a house of horrors for him. And if you look at it, in 30 races, he's got 10 top 5s. I guess in Kyle's mind, that's bad. That's bad. But it's still a pretty good percentage compared to anybody else. Bubba Wallace, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson also have wins here. But I think the one thing that jumps out at me when I look at that is the guys who have won at Kansas. That is the creme de la creme of the NASCAR Cup Series right there.
This is the place that we've always talked about, the engineering and all the big money teams. This is where it comes out, right? Penske, Gibbs, Harvick was at RCR / Stewart Haas. Brad was at Penske, Martin Truex, Gibbs, Kyle Busch, Gibbs. This is the place that the high dollar teams, this is where it shows up. So the mile and a halves are huge when it comes to engineering. And look, I mean, 3 wins for Joey Logano, 3 wins for Denny Hamlin, 3 wins for Kevin Harvick. 2 of those guys have no wins this season. This is a place I think they both. And I got to take a side note. Denny Hamlin, I am really, really getting worn out of listening to him. He's screaming at his pit crew how bad his pit crew is.
Well,
hey,
happens
Denny,
about every week.
How about you go more than one race without getting a speeding penalty until you stop yelling at your pit crew? Really? I mean, the guy every week is bitching about everybody else. Don't worry about the 4 races in a row. You got 2 speeding penalties. We forget about those. Man has a very short memory. But
how do you really feel?
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, the 2 guys I think that really jump out at me in terms of their consistency here are Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex Jr. Harvick, 19 top 10s in 34 starts, and Truex, 16 top 10s in 29 starts. Both are in double digits, top 5. And there you go. You talk about that Uncle Mo, Martin Truex Jr. got a little bit of momentum.
And he dominated the mile and a half, in the not too distant future. But also Chase Elliott, 8 wins, 14 races. That's better than 50% or 8 top 10s, 14 races, better than 50% of the time. Chase really likes this place also.
Well, let's get into our odds to win. Not probably a really big surprise that Kyle Larson comes in as our favorite at plus 500. William Byron, Tyler Reddick, who Wyatt dropping his Earl Ross McNugget on us, and Denny Hamlin all at plus 750. Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Bell at 850. Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott at 12-1. Pretty big number getting on Chase Elliott there. Kyle Busch and Bubba Wallace at 14-1. Bubba, incidentally, won this race in the fall. We talked about a little different sometimes when you're running a playoff race. Ryan Blaney's at 15-1. Kevin Harvick is at 18. Joey Logano, 22. Brad Keselowski, 28. Ty Gibbs, who actually was having a great run last week at Dover until the final caution came out, and Daniel Suarez both at 35.
Look, Kyle Busch, 14-1 right there. I mean, last year it was a Joe Gibbs Toyota. Finished third, won stage 1, second stage 2, led a bunch of laps. It's the place he loves, and he's got a big, big number on him for it being Kyle Busch. I mean, that's 14-1 on Kyle Busch. That sticks out to me. And Bubba Wallace, the guy that won the last time we were here. I mean, forget about the spring-fall race. The last time we were here, Bubba Wallace won this race, and he is 14-1 also. But yeah, that Chase Elliott 12-1, man. This. I think he's looking to this with the foot. This is kind of the easiest place for him to come back from. I like that. I might have to pick a winner today. I don't do it often. I've been kicking everybody's butt, but I might have to pick a winner.
All right, let's take a look at some of our long shots. Josh Berry subbing in again this week for Alex Bowman at 60-1. Chase Briscoe 65-1, and then everybody else is in triple digits. Ryan Preece, Ricky Stenhouse, Eric Jones, Chris Buescher, Austin Dillon, Austin Cindric, and Eric Almirola all at 100. Justin Haley, AJ Allmendinger at 150. McDowell is at 250. LaJoie at 300. Dillon, Gilliland, and Gregson at 500.
Let me give you something. Not 151 to win the race. Maybe when we go to the top 3. Justin Haley finished 8th at the only mile and a half we've had this year. Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Came home with a top 10 finish.
Had a couple good runs last year, too.
And has had some good runs a mile and a half. So I'm not going to say he's going to jump up and win this race. But that's a decent number. And then Josh Berry, 60-1. Been running really, really well, right? He's been running everything. He's been running in all, was filling in for Chase, now filling in for Alex. Alex Bowman in this car finished 3rd last year in this race. The mile and a half where Bowman's one of his better. So that team is great here. If you're looking for a great long shot, which I think the pit crew might have to pick him to win just to get positive, that Josh Berry does not bother me at 60-1.
I guess I'm going to look at a guy like a Josh Berry, and I'm going to be thinking, well, if I'm going to take a flyer on him, it's probably going to be for a top 3.
Top 3, and he's probably got a great number for top 3.
But again, we talk about these odds to win, and I think just the 2 guys, and I think we both talked about them that jump off the page at me. Going back, Chase Elliott is 12-1, and Kyle Busch is 14-1. Those are pretty good numbers on a couple guys that certainly are capable of winning here and have wins already on this racetrack.
Yep.
All right, let's take a look at our odds for our top 3s. Kyle Larson comes in as an overwhelming favorite there, plus 140. William Byron, Tyler Reddick, and Denny Hamlin are 200. Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Bell at 240. Chastain and Elliott at 330. Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney all at 400. Harvick is 500. Logano 600. 3-time winner Joey Logano plus 600. Brad Keselowski plus 800. Gibbs and Suarez each at 10-1.
Well, I'm looking at this. Ross Chastain has been on mile and a halves in the last 10 races. Best average finish in the last 10 races, 7.5. And you're telling me that Ross Chastain is a plus 330 for a top 3? And he's been the best point getter in the last 10 races on mile and a halves, all across the mile and a halves, excluding Atlanta. We don't count that as mile and a half anymore. That's a heck of a top 3 number right there. I mean, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one you can take a look at. And I believe in you. And again, we go back and talking about guys like Chase Elliott. Expect him to run well.
330.
Bubba and Ryan Blaney both +4. And see, Blaney. The thing with Blaney,
he'll finish second or third.
Right.
He'll finish second or third. That's what that's
right. And he usually runs well on these type of racetracks. So, there's a pretty good number out there. And I guess I also look at the fact that you got a couple of guys there with 3 wins on this track, and Harvick and Logano sitting there at +500 and +600, especially Logano. And I tell you what, sometimes with Joey Logano, I just throw my hands up in the air because I don't really know. Because, all right, example, this year, how dominant has he been many times at Las Vegas?
Oh, he's fantastic.
Right. And what happened this year? He was out to lunch.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like he was running a test session.
How about this one, though? Martin Truex Jr. is at a +240 for a top 3 at Kansas. We always talk about what have you done for me lately? Last 10 races, best average finish in the sport, 6.8. 9 top 10s, 4 top 5s, last 10 races. And he's a +240 right there.
Well, and that's the thing with him. I mean, now they get a little momentum.
Got momentum.
But I would like to have a better return than 240, I think. But maybe, I don't know.
Goodness gracious. I mean, listen,
okay.
Negative all you want.
Okay, maybe I'm being bougie on my picks here. So, all right, let's look at some of our
there you go.
our longer shots here now. Josh Berry, 16-1. Chase Briscoe, a little interesting there, 18-1. Chris Buescher at 25. And then we got Priest, Stenhouse, Jones, Austin Dillon, Cindric, and Almirola at 28. Haley and Allmendinger, both those Collie cars at 40. McDowell's at 70. LaJoie at 90. Ty Dillon, Gilliland, and Gregson at 130.
Only thing that bothers me about Briscoe is I go back to Vegas, the only mile and a half we've had so far. Briscoe is also in that group that was out to lunch, finished 28th. That spooks me a little bit off of that number. Brad Keselowski, though, 9th and 10th in stages, then had a bad final run. But I was trying to look at Austin Cindric, 6th in the Vegas race. So Cindric, 28-1.
Well, and I think it goes back to what I was saying. Those Penske cars always seem to run well on these mile-and-a-half tracks. That's why I was so surprised that Logano ran so poorly in Vegas at a place that he's been really good. So, I mean, I think you've kind of had to look at those Penske cars and say, and Cindric, 28-1.
I mean, they haven't been running great lately, so that's what kind of spooks you a little bit. But I still like that Josh Berry pick, man, as well as he's been running, as well as that team runs at this racetrack. That Josh Berry at 15-1, 16-1, that one's just on this page. That one's sticking out to me. Well, I like that.
And one thing I think for Josh Berry is he's probably starting to get comfortable in a Cup car.
Well, he's got enough runs this year. He's got enough reps.
He might have more than everybody else. Okay, we come back on Gone Racing. We'll break down our head-to-heads and our top groups.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
Want to rewatch any part of today's show or any past show? Check out the Gone Racing podcast. It's free and available now at vsin.com/podcast or wherever you get your podcast. We give you all the latest news, odds, and everything you need to know to head to the betting counter before each NASCAR Cup Series race. And while you're there, catch up on all the other VSiN shows as well. That's vsin.com/podcasts. Brendan, back our segment 3, talking about this weekend's AdventHealth 400 at Kansas Speedway. Getting into our driver head-to-heads. We don't really go through these individually. The biggest number we got out there for an underdog is Denny Hamlin at +125 against Kyle Larson. But I'll be honest with you, I look at this board out here, and I don't see one that just flies off at me and says, "Oh, I got to get in on that one."
What I look at, I've been having a lot of success this year in the head-to-heads, which is why I've been kind of eking my way around, and so I've been paying a little more attention. I'm looking right now at a Brad Keselowski +105 to Joey Logano. You said it. Joey was out to lunch at Vegas. The only mile and a half I got to go off of this year. Brad had two good stages, and then had a problem in the end and ended up 19th or 17th.
I think it was a pit
stop
issue.
They had a pit stop problem, and he went back. So I look at that and say, ooh, I kind of like that. And I don't dislike William Byron won the Vegas race. He's -125. But he's a +105 versus Kyle Larson. The problem I have is I believe William Byron and Kyle Larson are both going to be the two guys that are running up front.
And there's no way for the third week in a row somebody else's stupid
is going to take out Kyle Larson. So
right?
you kind of go, well, Byron won Vegas, but man, I don't dislike a Denny Hamlin plus 125. I don't dislike a Denny Hamlin plus 105.
Well, and even though Byron won Vegas, Larson dominated Vegas, and it was really the last restart.
No, Byron led 176 laps. He dominated the race.
Who was winning at the end?
Larson was leading till the caution came
race
out.
was over.
Understood.
If we don't get the late caution.
Understood. But Byron dominated the race early.
Okay, he did dominate early, but that race was Kyle Larson's to lose at the end. So, but which is why that makes for an interesting head-to-head matchup.
Yes, it does.
William Byron and Kyle Larson. Okay, we will move along to our groups. As you can see, we didn't want to spend a lot of time on driver head-to-heads today, so we're going to take a look at our Group A. Kyle Larson is our favorite. I don't think it's a big surprise at plus 240. Then William Byron plus 265. Denny Hamlin is plus 280, and Christopher Bell is plus 305.
Toughest group, of course, Group A, normally a tough one to pick by. But the plus 305 in a Group A, Seabell, I don't dislike that. Finished top 5 here last year. You look, he doesn't have many data points for this track. He's got 6 starts, 4 of them top 10s, 2 of them top 5s. And you go to the mile and a half, which we have more data points. He's 5 top 5s in the last 10 mile-and-a-half races. At a 305, you're trying to entice me? Well, that's a decent enticement. The problem is, I think Larson and Byron, hard to go against Hendrick right now. But 305 is an enticement at least.
It may be an enticement, but I'll tell you what I see in Group A. I look at that head-to-head one we just talked about.
I can.
Honestly, I'm actually counting the 2 guys at the bottom out.
I could take, you get a plus 105 to pick, William Byron over Kyle Larson, or I get a plus 265
to pick William Byron over
Kyle Larson in what you're saying.
And in fact, or maybe you just take William Byron and Kyle Larson, and you pretty much know you're going to the counter.
At least you got a little bit.
Unless the 2 of them, they're not going to wreck each other, I don't think.
It could happen.
No.
You just say, Jeff. That was Jeff Motley on the jinx.
Well, I
not
just
me or White.
Don't really see that happen. Again, Kyle Larson could not have any more bad luck than he's had the last 2 weeks.
I've been watching this sport for a while. It can get worse.
I was just going to say, hold on. I had a guy turn in front of me on pit road, for goodness sake. It can get worse, trust me.
By the way, speaking of Kyle Larson, and I'm going to digress for a second. Did you notice what he did to Chastain late in the race?
At the end of the race?
So, you see, if Denny Hamlin had done that at Phoenix, he would not have gotten the loss of points in a fine.
That's right.
What Kyle Larson did, I thought, was brilliant.
All he did was drive the poop out of a wrecked race car and just took the lane that Ross wanted and said, I dare you to touch me. And at least Ross wasn't stupid enough to touch him.
I just thought it was kind of brilliant.
Hey, listen, this is Ross Chastain has made his bed. He is going to get that more often than any other driver out there, and it probably cost him a chance at the win.
And did you see there was a picture of Kyle Larson in his race shop yesterday doing an interview about dirt racing? Did you see this photo?
No.
I don't know if it was an accident or if it was on purpose or what. Literally, there was a watermelon sitting on the counter right over Kyle's shoulder.
I was just waiting to hear about him talking about dirt racing with how many drivers Hendrick has lost this year to extracurriculars. I think he may
only one of them was in a dirt race.
Yeah, but
one was on snow.
Rick may be nervous about letting his guys do anything.
Yeah, well, this is probably true. Okay, let's take a look at our Group B here. Martin Truex Jr., Tyler Reddick, the co-favorites at plus 255. Ross Chastain plus 285, and Chase Elliott a plus 295.
Man, this one is the one you always say, Jeff, there's one I don't like. I love Chase Elliott at 295, but I also love Martin Truex at 255. The Earl Ross McNugget with Tyler Reddick. Ross Chastain, I said the hottest guy on mile and a half. This is a group that I am going to look at and say, poison, run.
The thing that's interesting to me is, okay, Truex won last week. All right, great. Good job, Martin. Congratulations, you're in the playoffs. But I just don't know that this is something he's going to sustain because we haven't seen that over the last couple of years.
What have you done for me lately at this track? He's done it.
Correct. Reddick, we know this car is very good at this track. Yeah. It's won 2 consecutive races. Reddick has really only been really strong on the road course this year when he won at Coda.
He rounded off like 4 top 5 10s in a row.
Okay.
I mean, goodness gracious, what's the guy got to do?
I just find this interesting. To me, Chastain and Elliott are probably the 2 guys that I see as saying, wow, they really should win this group. And they're the 2 underdogs in this group.
I'm not touching this one.
Okay. I didn't say I'm touching it, but it jumps out to me that I think the two guys who should be the favorites are the two guys that are the underdogs. Okay. Let's take a look here at our Group C. Ryan Blaney at plus 265, then Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and the last Kansas winner, Bubba Wallace, all at plus 275.
Okay, now, what's been the hottest manufacturer in the sport all year?
Chevy.
And what does this group have?
One Chevy, two Fords, and a Toyota.
Kyle Busch. I mean, it's Kyle Busch. I've talked about his stats here. He's in the Chevy. The Chevys have been the hottest thing in the sport. You go back to Vegas, the only mile and a half this season, it was Chevy, 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 Bubba Wallace, Christopher Bell, then Justin Haley and Daniel Suarez, who's having an awful season in the top. So they had 6 of the top 10 were Chevys. And you're telling me I got Kyle Busch at 275 in a Group C, and he's the only Chevy? I'm all over it.
Well, I do like your logic. I for some reason, my gut likes Ryan Blaney, but I like your logic on Kyle Busch. You make a good argument, and I can't make a good argument for Ryan Blaney other than just I kind of like Ryan Blaney.
3 top 10s last 10 races at Kansas.
So, who are you talking about?
Ryan Blaney.
Well, see, now there's something to be hang your hat on.
Kyle, 3 top 10s last 10 races. Kyle Busch has 5 top 5s last 10 races.
Okay, well, like I said, I can make no argument. It's just a gut feeling. Okay, let's take a look at our Group D here. Daniel Suarez comes in as the favorite at plus 250. Josh Berry and Ty Gibbs at plus 265. And my boy Chris Buescher, who has lost 2 weeks in a row for me
by one position.
He gets he finishes third
and ninth, and he loses his group.
He loses both groups.
Chris and they're both Group Ds and E. It's like, what's the man have to do?
Exactly. And he's plus 310 here on Group D.
So we all know there's a lot of Chris Buescher love on Gone Racin. We all know that. But for me, Daniel Suarez has been just, I'm sorry, my muchachito. He's been abysmal as of late. He's the favorite. You got Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs running really well right now. I think he's on 3 or 4. Like he had 3 or 4 top 10s in a row earlier.
He ran well at Dover last week. He was running like 6th or 7th, and then
he did a long strategy, but Josh Berry, who has been just on fire, and I just talked about him earlier about a top 3. You're telling me that once again there's 2 Chevys in this one with Suarez and Berry, and Suarez has been running poorly. Josh Berry, really?
And one of the tracks that we've compared Kansas to is Vegas.
And
who's got 2 Xfinity wins in the last 2 years at Vegas? Josh Berry. So I'm with you. I like Josh Berry here. No argument really I can make for any of the other 3, other than Chris Buescher's been consistent.
Yeah, Chris is great,
and he's got a big number.
But he's got to beat a guy that I think is in top 5 equipment.
Well, and again, this is one of those crazy ones where you could say, okay, I'm going to bet Berry and Buescher and figure I'm going to win money on the group. But I just can't bring myself to do that, to pick something that I know is a loser. Yeah. It's, I mean, although you do it sometimes when you pick 3 different race winners, I know, but.
And listen to the chuckle out of the peanut gallery behind the window there.
I remember those picks last year.
Hey, listen, you better start swinging for the fence here soon, Junior, because
don't worry.
Hey, notice what we haven't seen lately, Jeff. Remember the picture?
Yeah, the WWE
with the championship
Monday Night Raw.
Hey, Wyatt, Isaiah downstairs in the booth. Hey, Karina, where's the how come you haven't put that back in the montage of graphics that go up on the...
I mean, if we put it up there, they'd have to have splints and bandages.
You know, last time they put like a little nose strip on, like a little black eye. Now they're going to have to look like,
next time there'll be a full body cast.
Look like Rocky Balboa at the end of the deal. I mean...
Don't worry, we're on the... All right. I feel it this week.
Yeah. Okay, we're coming back, finish our groups, and tell you how bad the pick group picks are this week.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
Back for our final segment of Gone Racing. We are doing our group matchups right now, and we've gotten through 4 of them. We're going to get into our Group E right away. Brendan, in our Group B, Ryan Preece comes in as our favorite at plus 265. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. plus 270. Austin Cindric Almirola bringing up the rear at plus 275.
Yeah, this one also is a little tough for me. Stenhouse, though, of these drivers, been the hottest of all the guys that we're talking about. But Cindric, I said earlier, had a good run at Vegas this year, finishing 6th. He was the best Penske car. Go back to last year at this race, he was 11th when he was in the middle of a bad stretch of races. So pretty good there. But that Stenhouse Jr. lately, he finished 8th in this race last year. Only thing that scares me a little bit is at Vegas, he was persona non grata. He was 24th. But that Chevy, it's a Chevy.
Well,
and
I kind of like your mention on Cindric there, though, because, I mean, we know that these Penske cars, when they hit it on the mile and a half,
when they hit it, they
really hit it.
Yep.
And we know Kansas is a track that kind of seems to suit them. So I kind of like Cindric. And I think what I like about Cindric, too, is that he's the underdog, in this group. So he gets a little bit better return on Cindric. All right, our Group F, our final group, A.J. Allmendinger is our favorite at plus 250. His teammate Justin Haley, along with Michael McDowell, are plus 270. And Corey LaJoie comes in at plus 300.
I've been bragging about Justin Haley, right? I was talking about him earlier about, ran that well. They've been he's a Chevy. They've been running really good. But I'm going to give a little Corey LaJoie love. Actually, it was so funny. I was just saying the other day how they never put Corey LaJoie in groups. And this year, he's had more top 10s or top 15s this year than he's had in any season in his career. And it's only 11 races in. And Corey is running phenomenally. 14th last weekend, 14th in this race last year, or 19th in this race last year, 19th at Vegas, 14th last week, and he's a plus 300. I need enticement, right? I mean, I've been bragging about Justin Haley, but you're throwing out a 300 number in Group F, and Corey LaJoie's been running really well. I'm gonna jump on some Corey LaJoie love.
Well, I would say that your bragging has convinced me. I'm Haley. I'm all in on Haley here.
And I like the Haley pick. They've enticed me with a big enough number to jump on.
I think Haley has kind of cemented himself, I think, as the number one driver there at Kaulig. I mean, I think he's been more consistent week in and week out than AJ
until you get to road course season.
Until you get to road courses.
Yep.
And McDowell is a little bit of an outlier there because, I mean, we've seen Michael McDowell have better runs at intermediate tracks than we've seen in quite some time. I mean, we always think of Michael McDowell as a big super speedway or maybe even a road course guy, but McDowell's a guy that's probably been a little bit more consistent this year. Not you can't when you look at his overall past seasons, you throw that out. But this year, he's been a little bit of a surprise, I think, this year. All right, we're going to take one little quick look at the odds to win the championship.
No manufacturer.
Yeah, we don't have a manufacturer prop this week. Thank you, DraftKings. Appreciate that. Who was supposed to do that, Wyatt? Who normally gives us that? DraftKings?
Yeah, DraftKings.
Yeah. Not sure why we didn't have that one this week, but that's okay. We kind of look at it right now. I think the one that we've seen Chase Elliott bump up a little bit more, like from a plus maybe 750 last week to plus 800. I think each week that Chase Elliott doesn't win a race, we could see a little 50-point bump, although I think that probably the odds makers are really going to be watching very closely when we get to Sonoma. I think that's going to be a very important race for Chase Elliott.
And you missed the boat on Chase Elliott. He was already at 12 to 1 2 weeks ago when he was missing all those races.
But I'm saying if he goes to Sonoma and he finishes 9th or 10th,
it'll move back.
And people start saying, "Oh, maybe this road course stuff even for Chase isn't going to be there this year," and then suddenly I think his odds could
I like the Ross Chastain's going the right way for bettors. He's moved all the way back to 15 to 1 from 12, and I think that he was pretty darn good last weekend. A great pit stall, 2 great calls in a row by James Small put him in front of Ross, but 15 to 1 going the right direction. How about Brad Keselowski though? Started the season 60, now going all the way down to 25. You missed the Brad K boat.
Now there's one that's making me scratch my noggin.
Okay.
So, Martin Truex Jr. was 11 to 1 to start the season. His odds really didn't change much.
He was down to like 30 to 1 a couple weeks ago.
Well, I was going to say, and he gets a win, and he's still not back to where he was in the preseason, even though he's gotten a win.
Still a good number. He's in the playoffs now.
1,
he's maybe not in playoffs.
And look, if we see Truex have a couple of strong runs here the next couple of weeks,
that's going to get smaller and smaller.
Yeah. So if you're going to jump on Truex, I would say now is probably the best time to jump on Truex. And now let's go to
my favorite part of the show.
Brendan's favorite part of the show. You know what's interesting? A year ago, Brendan wanted to skip this segment of the show. I mean, I think there were times he wanted to leave early so we didn't have to go through this segment of the show.
I'm ready.
And now suddenly Brendan, who has a commanding lead in the standings right now, he has got 18 positive units. So, look, if you're listening to Brendan, he's making you money.
Yeah, some of his picks have been sent back to R&D for
going to the R&D center.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hey, listen, last year, new car, had to feel my way around, had to work my way through it, had to get a feel of it. Now I got the feel, and we're here. We're here.
The good news, the pit crew gained on Jeff last week, so there's a positive for the pit crew.
Yeah, they went from 8 laps down to 7.
There is a chance.
Let's put it this way.
So you're saying there's a chance?
They may have gained, but I don't hear the footsteps. Let's just put it that way. I can't even hear their engine back there.
You're going to be picking 3 guys to win a race here pretty soon.
Yeah, we're going to get desperation.
Don't worry, I got some things in the back of.
Right.
We're building them up there.
Hey, since you got some things building, how about you start since you're last in the standings?
I want to point out, if the pit crew hit a 50-1 winner this week, and you didn't,
they still
go 0 for 5. They still wouldn't catch you right now.
Yeah.
I just want to say that's what kind of, and we're only 11 races in.
I'm gonna mark this timestamp down. When we
win
again down.
Hey, not going to get greedy. I'm just going to keep chipping away.
No, see, you're good. He's the instigator. Right? Second place right there. The middle child just instigating everybody.
Remember this old football player, Conrad Dobler? He used to get in fights on the field and get like guys on.
Ross? Dear God,
Don't
man.
you guys remember him? Conrad Dobler was and he used to do these Miller Lite commercials, and he'd get 2 guys on either side of him to get into a fight because that's what he would do, instigate fights. I'm enjoying being the middle guy.
I know what I'm looking up on YouTube after the show.
Look up Conrad Dobler.
Okay.
Played for the Cardinals
Jeff
and the
Motley,
Saints.
Ross McNugget again of the day.
So for the pit crew this week, we're going to go with Bubba Wallace over Ross Chastain, even money. We like Tyler Reddick to win Group B plus 255. I'm going to go against what Brendan said in Group C. Kevin Harvick to win Group C plus 275. I'm banking on Ryan Preece because he's had a little bit of speed in Group B plus 265. And Corey LaJoie to win Group F at plus 300.
Hope we don't give Corey the kiss of death.
I think I'm feeling really good right now because I don't have any of the same picks as the pit crew this week.
Well, good thing is I only have one, so.
Yeah. All right. I'm going all groups.
Oh.
I'm picking in 5 of the 6 groups here. Something I don't do very often is go Group A, but I am going to go Group A this week. I'm going William Byron in Group A, and that's, again, I think it's a toss-up really between he and Larson, so I'm going with the guy who has the better odds. I'm going into Group C, and I'm going to do a little betting on the Penske team this week. I'm going Ryan Blaney, plus 265. I told you a little bit of it's a gut feeling. The logic does say Kyle Busch. Brendan has some great nuggets on that being Kyle Busch, and I'm giving you major credit because you really do have good logic, and I have no logical reason for picking Ryan Blaney other than I have a feeling. Group D, I'm going that Josh Berry pick. I just like Josh Berry here. I like Chris Buescher here too, but I'm going to go Josh Berry. I'm not sure what you're humming and singing over there, but
I got a feeling.
I know what song you're saying.
Oh, is that the Black Eyed Peas or something?
Yeah. Yes, Black Eyed Peas. Yes.
Black Eyed Peas.
Yes, sure.
See, little modern culture here. Okay, I'm also going into Group E. That's why I said I'm kind of sticking on the Penske bandwagon. I'm going to go with Austin Cindric, and then in Group F, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm going Justin Haley.
All right, I am going to do something I haven't done in a while. I'm picking a winner, and I'm going after Chase Elliott. I think that Chase Elliott. This is the week that a couple weeks after his leg, he's been running better. The Hendrick cars have been dominating these 1.5 miles and this style of track. So I'm going to start right off the bat with Chase Elliott at 12-1. I dig that today. And then I'm going to go head-to-head because they've been working well for me. I'm taking Brad Keselowski. The pit crew's jumped off the Brad Keselowski bandwagon, and it's making me money. So 105 to Joey Logano's minus 125. I'm getting the 105. And then I'm going to finish off with 3 groups. Group C, I'm going head-to-head with you, Jeff. I got Kyle Busch. Group D, I'm taking the Josh Berry pick. I after seeing that, I talked my way right into that one. And then hopefully me and the pit crew do not jinx my buddy Corey, but Corey LaJoie in Group F.
It's only 2 guys, so we're good.
So Corey, let's have another good run, buddy.
Yeah, we should point out that we put the kiss of death on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. last week because we all 3 picked Ricky
and he had a great
Stenhouse.
run, and he missed it by it's like, duh.
Yeah, I know. So, all right, I think we got about 30 seconds left in this segment, right, Wyatt? 30 seconds. You run some races at Kansas?
I ran a lot of races at Kansas.
How'd you do at Kansas?
Loved Kansas.
Kansas?
Oh, yeah, no, I've had one of my top 10 in Cup in Kansas. That was a great place for me.
This a drivers kind of racetrack here?
Those are my type of tracks. Remember, I loved the mile and a half the way Vegas was. And
they should have renamed Texas Motor Speedway for you there for a while.
Yeah, I think there's other people who have tried to take claim since that, but I had a good run at mile and a half.
Saw your boy Eddie Gossage yesterday. He was here for the Petty Ride. So. Okay, that'll do it for this week. We'll be back next week. We'll wrap up Kansas and start talking about Darlington, South Carolina.